And welcome into the Radio Days edition of Now and Next. I'm Dave Trafford. I got to sit in with Jerry Agar on News Talk 1010 and his Party for Two.
And joining me at the party table, Dave Trafford. He's chief executive producer at Story Studio Network, and he's the host of the On the Ledge, your Ontario politics podcast, Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. on News Talk 1010. Good morning, Dave.
Hello, Jerry. How are you?
Oh, I'm well. Let's jump back here. You've been married a long, long time, and we want that to continue. But can you fess up to having bought something for big money that you didn't let your wife know about?
No, she's listening.
Okay. No, on the radio, you're supposed to pretend she's not listening.
No, I can't say I have, actually, to be honest with you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And has she, or maybe you just haven't found out?
Well, that could be true. That could be true.
Yeah.
I'll have to, now that you bring it up, I'll have to inquire.
Okay. Well, apparently this happened to Mayor Patrick Brown, his wife. He says she's the income earner in the family. I looked it up. As mayor of Brampton, he's paid $153,000 a year, which might not sound like somebody who could just go out and buy $1.5 million worth of property in downtown Brampton. But A, he has some influence in downtown Brampton, and B, she apparently is the income earner and has the money. And despite the fact that he's the vice president on the numbered company that bought these properties, he didn't seem to know anything about it. What do you make of this story as a former news guy?
Well, I'm looking at the statement that he sent to Kevin Donovan. By the way, when Kevin Donovan comes knocking,
don't answer.
That's right. That's right. That's the best advice you could give the mayor. But in that case, it looks as if he has been fairly transparent. I mean, he went to the integrity commissioner. He, made sure that everybody knew up front that this was going on. He talked to the budget people at City Hall. They knew in advance that this was going on, that he was to excuse himself from any conversations or discussions about funding for the BIA at the Four Corners in Brampton. So yes, I can see how this kind of looks a little shaky. I wouldn't say shady, but to me, there's two problems here. First is the integrity commissioner can't be transparent enough to tell us exactly what the mayor said, one. And two, there doesn't seem to be any rules that prevent him from doing any of this. In fact, he seems to be going above and beyond any rules that are being imposed on city councilors. So as opposed to what you might see at, Queen's Park or in Ottawa.
Well, he always seems to. You're right about that. And I actually asked him once. I mean, I'm not talking behind his back. I actually asked him this on the radio one time. I said, it's controversy after controversy. Are you the most put upon politician in Ontario, or are you in fact a weasel?
So how put upon was he?
Well, he just kind of went on with whatever he wanted to say, and I didn't think in that case I needed to follow up. I just let it go. But Kevin Donovan may have more up his sleeve, so we'll see what happens. But
and Kevin's usually got long sleeves, so that's the problem.
Yeah. All right, so Story, we were discussing this on a panel on the morning show this morning. The World Cup people, FIFA, has contacted Toronto and Vancouver to make sure that city authorities know that they are aware of and are responsible for going around and making sure that none of the bars and restaurants use FIFA or any World Cup insignia or logo or anything to promote, for instance, come on in here because the World Cup games will be on, have a pint and watch the game. I understand on the one hand about protection of your brand and the fact that they have sold advertising rights for big money to some people and they don't want other people taking it for free. But doesn't FIFA and the city kind of want people to get out in all the bars and restaurants and places where you might be able to watch the games and be involved?
Yeah, this clear zone, though, is only like 2 kilometers around the stadium, right? I mean, that's where they have to really pay attention to it. Beyond that, I don't think they can manage that. But this isn't anything new. I mean, the Olympics have been doing this for years. Certainly, FIFA has been doing it for years. They had the experience in the 2010 games in Vancouver, where John Furlong was the head of that organization, the organizing committee there. He's already experienced that. And the story in the Globe this morning suggesting that, we had most people willing to cooperate, and it didn't take any of the steam out of the celebration of the 2010 Olympics. So I think up front at this point, there's still lots of runway to go in and make sure that all the establishments that are going to be able to take advantage of the crowds around World Cup within that 2-kilometer radius, just pretty aware of the kind of language that they can use. And let's make sure we're talking about the fun in the games and the parties that go on, as opposed to having, the bylaw officers having to crack down on all this nonsense.
Does that 2 kilometers also extend south?
Yeah, it looks like it goes into the lake, so you can't have the party boat.
You can't have a FIFA boat.
Yeah, exactly.
Without paying a fee for the FIFA boat.
Yeah.
All right. So the Eglinton Crosstown LRT, we're so close, they're saying. I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it.
Oh, sweet, merciful baby Jesus. I mean, when we get to this point in this conversation, I don't know why we just don't, let it go, and when it opens, it opens. That's the surprise. But having said all of that, the head of the Metrolinx organization, Michael Lindsay, was the head of Infrastructure Ontario. And there is such a serious problem with both of those organizations, both under the leadership of Lindsay over the last 10 years, that we need a serious inquiry into what the hell's going on with both. And it's a complete lack of transparency. Josh Matlow's right. He's not often right, but he's right this time. Just in terms of where do we actually draw the curtain back in terms of how this happened, why it happened, and particularly the problem where, we had automated vehicles colliding with one another in the train yard, but nobody willing to tell us exactly what happened. And that, Michael Lindsay still using the script book from Phil Verster. It's the hum and haw. Yes, soon come, but I can't give you a timeline.
Well, and they had embarrassing problems, the ones you just talked about, that they had to dig up some track because it was not the right width. And somehow, way back in the day, they built a railway all across this country without that problem. And, they didn't have lasers and things that we can use today. I think what they had was a set of wheels, and they just rolled it along as they built the track and said, yeah, that fits. So that simple solution apparently wasn't available. But I think this morning, John Moore had said at one point, once it opens a couple of months down the road, we'll forget about this. We should never forget that it was supposed to open in 2020, and it's something like $11 billion over budget.
Yeah, it started out as a $9 billion project, and then it was the largest transit project in the country. So, holy cow. I mean, we need to figure out.
Dave, I think the first number they rolled out was 2.2.
Yeah, those were the here's what it's going to cost to actually get to a point where we're going to find out what the cost is.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I missed that memo. Yeah. All right. The Toronto Star had an article, Why Some Families Are Leaving Toronto for Other Parts of Ontario. It mostly came down to housing costs. If you move to another part of Ontario, you might be able to buy a house. Yeah. Now, that doesn't work for everybody. I mean, if your job is in Toronto and you're required to be at the job, you're not a work-from-home person, then that doesn't work. But for some people, I've been saying for a long time, that's a legitimate solution.
Sure it is. The stories that we were hearing, we're talking about people who are making, $200,000 a year and they can't afford a home, to buy a home in Toronto. And that's the startling number. And, you can go ahead and look at, folks who've been in their homes for a while and look at that and say, okay, well, they might make something close to $250,000 a year, but they're living in a house that's well beyond the $700,000 or whatever it is they would have qualified for. They wouldn't be able to afford the house that they live in at this stage, given the way it goes. Two things that I talked to somebody recently who sold their home in Midtown Toronto. So they got a pretty good price for the house. But the staggering number, Jerry, is the land transfer tax. There's two of them in Toronto.
Yes.
There's the municipal one and the provincial one. And I do not understand. I mean, I can be stupid on a good day, but I still don't understand what the point of the land transfer tax is. It's thousands and thousands and thousands of additional dollars. And what am I getting for it as a buyer? I do not understand the efficacy of the land transfer tax. You want to free up cash? You want to make things more affordable? We should start there.
Yeah, if you're going to be in a city where they aggressively go after people who don't rent out their properties, maybe make it easier for people to own properties in the first place. Before we run out of time here, Dave Trafford is the host of the On the Ledge, your Ontario Politics podcast, Saturday mornings at 10. But this weekend, you're also doing a fundraiser.
Yeah, we did it. We had it last weekend, actually. This past weekend on Friday and Saturday, we ran 3 shows of The Promise. We were talking about it on your show a couple weeks ago, and it was in support of St. Clair Inn, transitional housing for homeless women here in Toronto. And just the good news for those of you who stepped up, came to the show. I saw lots of folks who came to the show and heard about it on the radio. Otherwise, if they couldn't come, they made donations. We blew through our goal. It was not a huge goal, but we raised more than $15,000 over the 2 days for St. Clair Inn. And today being Giving Tuesday, you can make a donation at stclairinn.com, and it's going to be matched up to $10,000. So whatever you donate today to St. Clair Inn, you can double the effect of the donation. So thanks for the help, Jerry.
Okay, St. Clair, C-L-A-R-E?
C-L-A-R-E, indeed. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Dave Trafford.
Great. Thanks, Jerry. Now and Next is an Eye Contact production.